Picture this. You're driving down a long American highway. The sun is setting in the distance, and instead of worrying about the next charging station, your car just keeps going. No cables, no waiting hours to recharge, no anxiety about running out of power. It feels like science fiction. But what if I told you that this breakthrough isn't coming from Silicon Valley or Germany's auto giants, but from Africa? In a workshop tucked away from the spotlight, a team of young innovators has been rethinking what an electric vehicle can be. Instead of depending on giant charging networks and costly infrastructure, they've developed a system that allows the car to power itself as it moves. Imagine an EV that generates its own energy, capturing, recycling, and reusing it in real time. The result? A self-powered car, an idea that has finally crossed into reality. Word of this invention spread quickly. At first, it was dismissed as impossible. Experts said the efficiency wasn't there, that energy couldn't be created out of thin air. But then came the prototypes. Cars rolling down dusty roads in African cities, running for hours without plugging into the grid. Engineers and journalists who got the chance to ride inside described it as surreal, watching the dashboard stay fully charged no matter how far they drove. Now, this innovation has reached America. The first shipment of self-powered EVs landed quietly at a port on the East Coast, and insiders say that big names in the auto industry are watching nervously. Because this isn't just a car, it's a threat to an entire system. Gas stations, charging networks, even power companies stand to lose if vehicles no longer need them. Imagine what it means if transportation breaks free from fuel, from charging stations, from dependence on the grid itself. But behind the buzz, questions are swirling. How exactly does it work? Can this technology scale? Is it really as limitless as it seems, or is there a hidden trade-off that no one's talking about? Some skeptics suggest it's not as self-powered as it sounds, that there must be a hidden input somewhere. Others argue that what matters isn't perfection, it's disruption. And disruption is exactly what this African innovation has brought to the world's biggest auto market. Meanwhile, footage has begun to circulate online. Videos of sleek EVs cruising across highways without stopping, interviews with drivers who claim they've gone weeks without plugging in. In Africa, crowds gather wherever the car is shown, people rushing to see the future for themselves. There's a sense of pride, too, an invention born out of necessity, built in a place often overlooked, now reshaping the narrative of who leads the global tech race. And in boardrooms across America, executives are scrambling. Some are reaching out quietly, hoping to buy into the technology before it takes off. Others are plotting ways to discredit it, to cast doubt before consumers demand more. Governments, too, are paying attention. A self-powered EV doesn't just change transportation, it changes energy policy, trade, even geopolitics. This story is no longer about one car. It's about what happens when innovation leaps across borders, when the rules of the game are rewritten by those no one expected. Because if this self-powered EV proves real, affordable, and unstoppable, the world may never look at driving, or at Africa, the same way again. Already, whispers of secret demonstrations in America are surfacing. A select group of engineers, journalists, and investors were invited to private test drives. Phones were confiscated, cameras banned. Yet, even without footage, the stories that leaked out are electrifying. Attendees described stepping into a vehicle that looked ordinary on the outside but felt almost alive once in motion. No hum of a traditional motor, no dip in the energy gauge, only a constant stream of acceleration that seemed impossible to explain. One insider claimed that after driving for over 300 miles, the dashboard display still showed a full charge. Another described a strange blue glow beneath the hood, as if some kind of unseen mechanism was feeding the car endlessly. Of course, none of this has been verified, but that hasn't stopped the public imagination from catching fire. Across social media, hashtags trend daily. Memes celebrate the infinite car, while skeptics battle back with warnings about pseudoscience. Yet, despite the noise, the undeniable fact remains. Real vehicles are on the road, and they are moving without stopping to refuel or recharge. Even consumer watchdogs, usually quick to dismiss radical claims, have admitted they are perplexed but intrigued. Meanwhile, African media outlets proudly spotlight the inventors behind the project. Young engineers, often working with limited resources, piece together ideas from renewable energy, electromagnetic theory, and unconventional designs. They faced years of rejection from investors who couldn't see past the dominance of established automakers. Now, those same automakers are calling them directly, offering staggering sums to license the technology, or to bury it. The tension is growing. What happens if this innovation is suppressed before it reaches the masses? What if it disrupts not just cars, but entire industries that profit from dependence, oil, batteries, charging infrastructure? And what if, against all odds, it survives the pushback and becomes available to everyone? Some say this could be the beginning of a transportation revolution unlike anything since Henry Ford rolled out the Model T. Others warn it could spark a global economic conflict, as nations scramble to control or contain a technology that could rewrite the rules of power itself. And yet, somewhere out there on American roads tonight, a self-powered EV is driving silently under the stars, its headlights cutting through the dark, proving to whoever's behind the wheel that the future isn't coming, it's already here. That single image, a car gliding endlessly through the night without ever slowing down, has become symbolic. For some, it represents hope, freedom from gas prices, freedom from charging stations, freedom from a future locked into rising energy costs. For others, it represents fear, the collapse of industries, the loss of control, the unraveling of systems that have dominated for more than a century. Behind closed doors, negotiations are underway. Major automakers are dispatching teams of lawyers and engineers to investigate, while energy companies quietly lobby politicians to intervene. There are rumors of patents being filed under shell companies, of backroom deals designed to secure exclusive rights. But the inventors are wary. They've seen what happens when powerful interests seize disruptive technologies. Sometimes they vanish before the public ever gets to see them. On the streets, though, people aren't waiting for official confirmation. In cities across Africa, drivers gather in parking lots to watch the self-powered EV in motion, cheering as it circles endlessly without slowing. In America, blurry phone videos are beginning to surface despite restrictions, showing cars that simply refuse to die even after marathon drives. Each new clip sends shockwaves through the internet, sparking fresh debates about whether the world is witnessing the birth of a new era or being sold the perfect illusion. And then comes the twist, whispers of a larger vision. Sources close to the inventors claim the car is only the beginning. If a vehicle can be self-powered, why not entire homes? Why not cities? A world where energy is no longer extracted and sold, but generated freely, seamlessly, wherever it's needed. The idea sounds too radical, too destabilizing. But then again, so did a self-powered car, until one appeared on the road. The story is still unfolding. Every day brings new leaks, new claims, new attempts to suppress or accelerate the technology. For now, the inventors remain defiant, promising to bring their creation directly to the people. But the forces lining up against them are enormous, and the battle for the future of energy has only just begun. The conflict is already simmering. Reports emerge of mysterious delays at shipping ports, containers held without explanation, and permits suddenly revoked. The first American buyers of the self-powered EV whisper about unmarked cars parked outside their homes, strangers asking probing questions, contracts offered that sound less like partnerships and more like silencing. It feels less like the rollout of a product and more like the beginning of a battle. At the same time, universities and independent researchers scramble to dissect what little information they can gather. Some theorize it's a revolutionary form of regenerative technology, harvesting wasted energy more efficiently than ever before. Others suggest electromagnetic resonance, a concept dismissed decades ago as impractical but now making a quiet return in underground papers. A few even dare to whisper about Maxwell's forgotten theories, ideas left buried in dusty archives, suddenly resurrected in African labs. But as the science becomes a point of fascination, the struggle for control grows darker. Leaked memos from an energy consortium reveal a strategy to brand the invention as unsafe. Fake reports circulate online claiming the cars emit dangerous radiation, or that their systems could fail catastrophically at high speeds. The inventors deny it, calling it nothing more than fear-mongering designed to protect outdated empires. Still, the shadow of doubt begins to spread, and that's all the opposition needs. Meanwhile, the cars keep driving. Every time a skeptic predicts failure, another video surfaces of a self-powered EV running longer, faster, farther. And with each passing day, public opinion shifts. People don't just see a car anymore, they see possibility. They see freedom. They see a world where power no longer comes with a bill attached. And that's when the stakes rise even higher. Because if this technology scales, if it really can power not just vehicles but homes, factories, entire cities, then it doesn't just threaten industries. It threatens the balance of global power itself. Now the question is no longer if the world will change, but who will control that change, and how far they'll go to keep it out of the wrong hands. The inventors knew the pressure was mounting. Every phone call felt tapped, every move shadowed. Yet, instead of hiding, they prepared something bold, a public demonstration that no corporation or government could suppress. Rumors spread that they had secured a venue, a massive stadium in one of Africa's busiest capitals, and that they planned to unveil the self-powered EV to tens of thousands of witnesses at once, cameras rolling, live streams beaming across the globe. The announcement set off a storm. Governments warned of security risks, corporate lobbyists whispered about sabotage, and anonymous threats poured in. But the inventors pressed forward, insisting that once the world saw the truth, no amount of money or influence could bury it again. On the day of the reveal, the stadium overflowed. Crowds chanted, waving flags and banners that read "Power belongs to the people." Journalists from every continent scrambled for seats, drones hovered above, and millions tuned in online. Tension hung in the air. Was this going to be the breakthrough of the century, or a carefully orchestrated illusion? Then, the moment arrived. A sleek, silver EV rolled onto the track, polished to a mirror finish, its headlights glowing like eyes fixed on history itself. The inventors stood silently, then with a nod, the driver pressed the accelerator. The car shot forward with smooth, effortless speed. Minutes turned into hours as it circled the stadium, never once slowing, never once showing a drop in power. Engineers held up monitors broadcasting the battery status, full, unwavering. The crowd erupted in disbelief. Some shouted, some wept, others simply stared, trying to reconcile what their eyes told them with everything they thought they knew. And just when the spectacle seemed complete, the inventors raised the stakes. They connected the car to a set of floodlights towering over the field. Instantly, the beams blazed to life, powered not by the grid, not by a generator, but by the car itself, still driving, still endless. The world had just witnessed the impossible made real. But in that same instant, a different kind of silence fell, in boardrooms, in government offices, in military command centers. What had been whispers and secret memos was now undeniable. Control was slipping, and those who stood to lose billions were no longer willing to simply watch. Because for every cheer in that stadium, there was someone, somewhere, already planning the counterstrike.